Game Specialist. I'm Carla.
And I'm Melanie.
And this is episode 107. And this episode is brought to you by consonants and vowels. The letters that make up the words we say on this podcast.
Not continents.
This episode, we are talking about we're well into our top 50. We're halfway done, and now we are going from our 50 to 41.
Yes.
But before we get into that, what game have you chosen to talk about that you've been playing lately?
Yeah, games we've been playing lately. Well, actually, we're going to start with you. So let me bring up this presentation here. It's ready. There you go. So Carla, what have you been playing lately?
Well, we had a game day at your house last weekend, which was super fun. And we got to play one of our expansions. Now, this was to a game called White Castle, and this was the Matcha expansion. Mm-hmm. What this expansion adds to the game is basically 25% more game, because in the game with the White Castle, you have 9 turns in the whole game, 3 per round, 3 rounds. And this one will add a whole other board with another section, which adds another turn per round. So you now have 12 turns per round. And what you're trying to do in this game is you are selecting dice. That is your action for the turn. And you're placing the dice on a spot on the game board. Now you can place it in all different areas. You can go to the well, and that is just kind of your basic, I need to get like some money and some things, and like it'll change every round because the little chits that are there will depend on what you will get that game. So every game it'll be different. You can go to an area that will let you go to the garden, and what you're doing in the garden is you are placing one of your workers. You'll have to pay food for that, and then you get to take an action. And if your gardener is on a spot near the bridge, and the bridges are what hold all the dice, at the end of the round, if there's dice on the bridge, you'll get to take that action again. And then there are also end game points for that. You could also go to the field, and what the field is for the warriors. So it's kind of like the battlefield, but there's not really any battle. You are just taking up spots on, you're not actually blocking anybody, but you're going to spots using iron, and they will give you different actions. And the cool thing about this game is a lot of the actions that you do will give you more actions. So that one little dice can give you, up to like 3, 4, 5 different things that can trigger and happen, which, I love that in games. You can also go to a spot where you go to the palace, and you get to put your courtesans in the palace, and they move up different levels and will get more points depending on what level they are at, but they also get to take cards and actions as they move up. Now, the thing that is added to this with the expansion is the tea garden. And so you can also use dice to go to the tea garden, and you can move along the path, or you can just go over to the pond, which will give you some actions. But moving along the path, you eventually get to the tea house, and you choose which level you're going to land up in, which gives you an action. And then it will multiply depending which level you are, how many, say like one level will be depending on how many gardeners you have. The other level will be depending on how many courtiers you have. And the next one is how many warriors. So there's all different things going on that kind of combo off each other if you can, figure out where is the best place. Another neat thing is some of the spots on the board, if you place a dice, depending on the colored actions there, you might get to take 2 or 3. If there happen to be 2 or 3 of the same color there. In a 3 to 4 player game, which we played a 4-player game, you can stack dice. So if I put a dice down and then say you were after me, you could actually go on top of that dice. Now, depending on the number on the pips of the dice, if I had a 1 there and you placed a 6, you would get $5. But if I had a 6 there and you placed a 1, you'd have to pay $5. So there's different ways to get money, and then also you might have to pay. Now, like, turn order is a bit important in this game because, the juicy actions are going to get taken up first. but everybody kind of does their own little strategy. And another thing is on your player board, you have this little track at the bottom. As you're collecting cards, you're replacing other cards down onto your lantern track, which you did really well. You built your lantern track up really good.
My lantern was amazing.
And then there's different things that will give you that lantern action. For example, if you take the lowest dice on the bridge on the left-hand side, which is usually like a lower pip, so you might have to pay money to put it somewhere, but you get to take your lantern action. So if you build that up, and keep taking that lower dice, you're going to get lots of, little triggers, because you can get points that will move you up the turn order track, just actual points. You can get food and resources. You can get all kinds of things. And it's just such an awesome game that, was a quick game to begin with. I would say it was probably around an hour mark, and now maybe, hour 15, hour and a half, but such crunchy decisions, because you kind of look at the board and you're like, oh, if I do that, that'll let me do that. Do I have enough resources to do that? No. So now go back. Well, okay, maybe I'll try this. And it's just such an awesome combo game that I just love it. And I was happy you got to play it, because I thought you would like it.
I did.
You won. You beat us.
Oh, did I win? I couldn't remember if I did. I know I did really well on that top track, and I had a really high multiplier for, like the training area compared to my main area. So I had a good multiplier going there.
Yeah, that multiplier makes a big difference, because if you get in the 5 iron spot, that's a 2 multiplier. And if I think you had 3 people.
I had 3 in there,
so
yeah.
That was 6 times however many people you had in the palace. So
yeah,
there's a lot of different ways you can go about getting points. And the T track or the T garden at the bottom adds more ways to combo, whereas some games with the base game, depending on how the cards come out and how the chits come out to, for the dice actions, sometimes like it's really hard to find them, and everybody's kind of stuck and only has a few people out. But then some games you can get all your workers out. So it just kind of depends on that. But now with the tea garden, it just adds more possibilities. So it makes it a little bit more enjoyable, I think. But yeah, that was tea or the White Castle, the Matcha expansion.
I really enjoyed that it was like a dice placement, but then a worker placement as well. Because depending on where you put the dice, you could place these different workers. So without the expansion, then, do you have a different player board? Because you wouldn't have geishas at all, would you?
No, it was a different player board, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Player boards with the geishas to add on to it. And so.
Nice. That was a great game. I'm really glad to have got it played. And the Vieric is really great. Because, this is a big game, and it takes a lot of space on the table, but they fit it in a tiny little box.
Yeah, you really have to Tetris it in there after.
Yeah, right. So it was impressive because it's not taking a whole lot of space on your shelf, but it's a big game.
Yeah, and if you
wonderful,
the box, it's a heavy little box. I know when I went to buy, I think it was the base game, when the guy handed it over to me, he's like, "Wow, I didn't expect that to be that heavy," just because of the size of the box, but.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it would be.
Some really good games in there. Like the Red Cathedral was the one before this in the same kind of box size, and like just so much going on in that little box. But when it gets on the table, it's just a huge experience.
Nice. Perfect. So on that same game day, actually we did manage to play quite a bit of games that day. We ended up playing a game that I have kickstarted that is going to be coming, but I don't own it yet. But because we're playing it and it is ordered, I'm counting it as off my shelf of shame anyways. Yeah, it is. So twisting the rules, I need to take all I can get because my shelf of shame is so big. How many do you have on yours right now, Carla?
I have 3. I just bought another game today. It was at 2, and now I have 3.
Yeah, I just had 2 games show up today. That I was surprised. I didn't expect them, and I'm just going to show them because I'm so excited about it. So I have pictures that was sent to me by Rio Grande Game, as well as dice realms. So my shelf of shame just keeps growing, and I'm over 200 games on there. So I'm counting this one, but it was so good. So we ended up playing Santa's Workshop, and I love Christmas. Like, actually, you, Carla, you're probably just as bad as me.
Yes.
My Christmas tree is up. My Christmas shopping is done. My gifts are wrapped. And now I just, like, wait for Christmas. And, like, when it comes a week before Christmas, I don't sleep anymore. Like, I'm too excited. I can't. It's ridiculous. And I've been like this my whole life, and my kids are not. It's so weird, because I'm, like, telling Patrick's, like, don't you like Christmas? And he's like, well, yeah, but not like you. and I'll be like, okay, can we go wake him up? So... it's ridiculous. So when I saw Santa's Workshop, I'm like, I really want to play this. So I'm so glad you brought it. And it's perfect. This is just a beautiful, perfect Christmas game. And when you think Christmas game, and I own a lot, but they all tend to be small little card games, this is like a robust, for real worker placement game, and it is so satisfying to play. And you're in Santa's Workshop, and we're all playing as different characters. Now, I was the gnomes, and you have your 3 characters, and you have like a little helper. So my little helper was the snowman. And you have to, it's worker placement. So you go on the board and do different things. You can kind of recruit reindeers, and the reindeers become like a set collection. So the more variety of reindeer you have, the more points it's worth. You can go collect Santa's letters, which is like, I think, kind of part of the main part of the game, because we're getting these letters, and then they're orders, right? Like the kids are putting in their toy orders or whatever they want for Christmas, and then you got to collect the correct resources to complete it. And then once they're done, they go into Santa's sleigh, and then they give you points, because that's like the whole point, getting all the toys ready for Christmas Eve. And the countdown at the top there is the last like 9 days before Christmas. And after 3 days, Santa come, and he does like out of I guess, like, I don't know what you would call, like, an inspection to make sure everything's on track, and then you score points based on that. And then that's when your gifts kind of get put into the sleigh as well. And then you have like ornaments that you can put in the Christmas tree. And then you have the mine where you can go get coals, because coal is how you pay for a lot of different actions that you can do. And then, like, I mean, there's so much to it, but it is just so amazing. I absolutely love it. And then if you look at the attention of details, like all the around where you're keeping track, those are little like Christmas cookies. And our little token that keeps track, they're little cookie cutters. And like the characters, you have the gnomes, you have elves, you have, like, I can't remember who else was out there, but then you have like a little fairy as a helper. I had the snowman. I can't remember what else was out, and then you have like the big Santa that does the countdown on the top of the calendar, and December 24th, that's it. That was the final scoring, and then he's gone for Christmas. It's just so amazing. And the first player marker is like a Christmas tree, and then that get passed around as well. Oh my God, I love this game. I cannot wait to get my copy of it. Is just so amazing. But it's just like, as when you think of a Christmas themed game, it is such a robust, not heavy, but like there's a lot of game there. It's not just a tiny little card game. It's so satisfying to play. So Santa's Workshop, loved it. I cannot wait for it to arrive, and that's my pick for what we've played lately, because it was just so good.
Yeah, it's nice. And the other nice thing about it is if you flip the game board over, there's more of a family version on there. So there's a little bit lighter than I'd say it's a medium game, whereas on the other side, I think it's more lighter, and so it could be, taught to almost anybody and just played a little bit easier, a little bit less thinky. So it's nice that it has like 2 ways to play it.
Yes. Yeah, we played the heavier version, but even then, like, it was really straightforward and easy to learn and play. Like, it was so good. So good. All right. Top 50. Number 50. I am first, I believe. The way you have the presentation, right? Yes, you are. Okay. Yeah.
So my number 50 is Sagrada. Now, this was one of the first games that I had played as a gamer, which drew me in, made me buy this game and just love it over and over and over. And it's quite a simple game, but it's just beautiful. If you look at the cover alone, it's like a big stained glass window on there with all these different colors. And what you're actually doing in the game is you're building your stained glass window, but you're doing it with dice. So all these different colored dice that you will draft and place onto your stained glass window. Now, there's different rules that kind of like a Sudoku-like, where you can't have the same number or color touching each other orthogonally. So you are trying to like puzzle that out, but not just that. There's end game goals. You have private goals that you're trying to accomplish. And it sounds like it would be simple, but as you move on in the game, it gets a little trickier because you only have a few spots to fill out. And some of those spots have a specific color because you will be able to choose cards at the beginning of the game that you will slide into your glass window, and some will be less difficult or more difficult. And the more difficult they are, you get these little stones, which are, they help you use tools. So the tools will kind of help you cheat the game a little bit. You might get to like flip a dice. You might get to re-roll a dice. You can do all these different things. And this is just the base game alone. Now, it is such a quick game. There's 10 turns and that's it. So this one can be played with people who know this game in literally half an hour. It is just so lovely. And then there's a whole bunch of little expansions and they all add like some really cool things to it to change it up. So it can become a more complicated game, but still, like, you usually only would use one of those things and add it in just to add a little bit of spice to it. But it's just so satisfying and like beautiful to look at. But to make that window and make everything work in there, it's awesome. And this is a game that will stay in my collection forever. It's an evergreen for me. It's beautiful. And I have purchased since then the Sagrada Artisans, which was the roll and write legacy game, which me and my daughter are playing through. We actually think we only have one game left to play to finish it all off. But it was so fun too, because you had to actually color in the spots instead of using just placing dice. You're coloring it in. So it's got that kind of zen to it where, adult coloring kind of helps you relax. So it's really neat. But Sagrada, the dice placement game, is just awesome. I totally recommend this one. And that's my number 50.
Nice. That's a good pick for sure. I got the expansion to be able to go up to 6 players. Yeah. I don't know why I do that. I always try to get like, if we could play 6 players because we're a family of 6. We never get all 4 kids willing to play a game at once anyways. I shouldn't worry about it. But I have the option now if I want to.
It actually adds more than just the 6 players.
Yeah, it does as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
To it. Yeah. That was a good one.
All right. My number 50 is Castle of Madkin Ludwig. Now, they just reprinted this one in like a big box fancy version. I don't know if it was like the 10th anniversary, the 20th anniversary, or what it was, but the version I have is before that. Now, one thing I'm going to point out with this game, if you have my version, it comes with a bunch of tiles with no insert whatsoever. And what a friend of mine did is he came to my house one day and then he's just like, I 3D printed you something. And he 3D printed an insert for it. And then all the components sit in there, and then the tile that you normally would play with is actually the lid for that box, and it's all kind of made into look like it's brick, like it's its own little castle. It is amazing. Like this 3D, like if you have the original version, get somebody to 3D print this for you because it is just amazing. If you have the new box, I think it has an insert now, or I'm not sure. Do you own this game? You have the new one.
I have the collector's edition. I love this game. We just actually played it a couple weeks ago.
So what does the insert look like in the collector's edition?
Well, it's a big box that, like, you know, like the calyx that almost fits a half a calyx.
Oh, geez, it's huge.
They have the inserts in this are awesome because they literally, you pull them out of the box and you set them onto the board, and they have on them how many tiles you need per player count. So you just set them all out and then you look, oh, I need 8 for this. So you take 8 out, and then same with the cards and everything. It's very, very well organized, but that looks really neat too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's so cool. I love it. But anyway, so with this game, it's because Madkin Ludwig is an actual king that existed, and he was kind of renowned for building castles in impossible places, like hanging off the edges of a mountain or whatever. And with this game is you will be like the active player. The active player decides based on like goals and stuff as well, like where each tile that is available this round's going to be and the price for it, because anybody else that's building has to buy it, and then the active player, they're the builder, like they get the money that round, and you take turns. So if you really don't want somebody to have something that you know they want, you're going to put a bit of a higher price on it, but not so high so that they don't buy it so you get the money, but you're going to try to place what you want a little bit cheaper, but not so much that everybody else, because if you're like the active player, the last one to buy your tile as well. But as you get your tile, you kind of add them into your castle, and you're creating like this blueprint of the castle. And now depending on what you put out, they'll score depending on what's around it, right? Like, so if you have a chambers doesn't like to be next to entertainment rooms because it'll keep you up and it's going to give you negative points. So you're trying to have those separated a little bit. And while kitchen rooms might do better next to entertainment rooms because a lot of times they got to deliver food there, and then that gives you points, and that kind of, so, and you're building all of this, and you can add corridors and you can add stairs to go down. And if you go downstairs, then you can have like dungeon rooms, and then you got to go back upstairs, and you can put outside kind of garden rooms, but then garden rooms have like an open exposed area that can't be you can't build off of, so you got to leave those open. It is just so neat what you build as you play, and then like what it looks like, because you have this blueprint of this really neat looking castle that you've done, and like, and you kind of get into like, oh, a moat, I really want to add a moat, you know, or whatever kind of comes along, and it's hard not to build just for what would be cool, and build for what it'd be worth. But I really, really enjoy this game, and it's just so fun. Yeah, I haven't seen the Essential Edition and what that looks like. I would love to look at it, but I really like my own version, especially now that I have that 3D printed insert. It makes a huge difference. It's super fast to get it played because it's already set up and ready to go. But yeah, so that was my number 50, Castles of Madkin Ludwig.
Good choice. My number 49 is a simple party game. It's called Just One. Now this one, when you hear about this game, and even when you hear it described, you just think, is that even a game? Like, you literally could just make up words and play this game, which you totally could. But it's it comes with a nice little what are they called? The little plastic
like little white easel thing or whatever.
Yeah, kind of
teepees.
Like
I don't know.
And then you all choose your own marker color, and you have this deck of cards. So one player is going to be the guesser, basically, and they'll grab a card and not look like face it towards everybody, but not themselves, and they'll choose a number. So there's 5 words on that card. So if I chose 4, you'll look down to number 4, and everybody's going to try and describe that word with one single word. Now, they're not going to talk about what they're writing. They're just going to write a word on their little easel. And then after, they're going to compare it with each other. Still, if I'm the guesser, I can't see or hear what they're talking about. And if anybody has the same word, then it gets canceled. So then you kind of look and you're like, okay, now we're down to 3 words. They're different. That's fine. Then they flip them towards me, and I look at the words, and then I try to figure out what they were trying to describe. Now, it's the neat part is that the people who are writing the words, you're trying to write a unique word. So you're like, okay, Mel's like, if it's me and you, I'm like, I think Mel's going to say that, so I'm not going to say it. But then what happens is nobody says the obvious words, and you all put like some complicated ones. And then when you look at them all, like if you look at the screen right now, it has milk, white, Belgium, sweet, dark, and hazelnuts. Like, well, I would totally say chocolate would be the word. And I'm assuming, chocolate.
It was,
word, so that would be the word. But if a bunch of people put sweet and milk and maybe Belgium, and you had white, dark, and hazelnuts, I don't know if you would get it. You would maybe. But it's neat how that works. And I know, like, I've played this so many times with different people. I played on BGA a lot of times with just random people because it's so interesting playing with random people and the words they all come up with because I play with people from different countries.
Nice.
And it's really neat because some of the things that they say or I say, I'm like, oh, wow, that's an awesome word. And they'll say the same back to me. And to me, I'm thinking that's just something that everybody here would say, you know, but it's really, really cool to play with, you know, people, you know, because then you kind of are on the same wavelength, sort of, if you know them, but also people you don't know. And it's just one of those games that you don't really care about the score because all you're doing is trying to just, you know, have perfection and be able to guess all the words. But even if you don't, you just, whatever. Sometimes I don't even know if we tally up the score. We just kind of do a round or 2 rounds and then we're done. And then it's like, oh, let's play it again. I think we can do better. So it's just one of those kind of activities, but it can be a game that has kept score, but it is cooperative. So it's just fun. And I never thought, even when this game came out, when it was described, I was like, I don't know, that just kind of sounds not like fun, but it is a lot of fun. And that's my number 49, just one.
Yeah, it's a great game for sure. It always goes over so well, and it's just fun. Honestly, this is such a fun game.
Literally 10 seconds to describe how to play it. You know, it's like
nice. Oh yeah, for sure, right? It's really simple. Mm-hmm. Great pick, Carla. All right, my number 49. Now I want to point out this is our top 100 game that we're doing out of the games that we talked in our first 100 episode of the Board Game Specialist podcast. Now, on the podcast, we tend to do top 9s all the time. This game I'm talking about next here has been on my list many times for many different reasons. I'm sure it was in my top small games. It's been in my top like card games or games I'll play with my family. This has been different lists that we've done. But this one gets mentioned a lot because it's so good. And that is Vampire Queen. We love this one. We play this one so much. It's a trick-taking game where once a person has gotten rid of their hand, whatever everybody else had, like, triggers the end, and whatever else you have in your hand when somebody triggers the end of the round, you tally up all the total of those cards. So, and like, it's like Victorian era vampires. And your cards can be anywhere from 1 to 14. Now, 14 is the vampire queen, and she's a wild. Could be used as a wild, or she could be used as a 14, or she could be used as the lowest card as well. And that matters in sometimes because there's also 2 vampire hunters. Excuse me. Now, the vampire hunters have to be played first. So they get played first at the beginning of a round if you have one in your hand. And you can't play it on the round like subsequent to when you received one. But the difference with the vampire hunter is when you put it down, everybody plays 1 card. Just a single card, doesn't matter if it's higher or less or whatever than the other ones. But whoever plays the highest card has to take all the cards played that round and it gets added into their hand. So you're trying to make sure you keep some low cards to be able to feed to the vampire hunter when they come along. Because if you have a vampire hunter in your hand at the end of the game, they're going to be worth 20 or 15 points. So it's a lot of points to have. So you're trying to get rid of it. But now on my turn, I could play, so if I had this hand here, I could play 3 4s. Now the next player would have to play 3 cards, because that's how many I've played, of the value higher than 4. So if they like, it was the same hand, let's say, you could add a queen to the 2 9s and play that as 3 9s to add it to that 3-4 hands. And then whoever has added anything that's kind of equal to the greater of what was played, then they tally up those cards, they put them aside, and then they start the next round. And it gets really funny when you're like, okay, I've got almost nothing, and they keep playing like 2 of this, but I only have single numbers. Now I can't partake. And it's like, oh no. It's like, so, but this is a game that is so satisfying. And the goal of the game is to score as low as you can, because you're trying not to collect the points. We've played this to death. Well, you could see my cards there, like they're wearing off. You could see like the white of the card is showing through just because it has been played so much. I bought this one secondhand from like a game lot. It just happened to be in there. I had never heard of it. I had never played it. I was like, I don't know, we could give this one a try. And it's just so amazing. It's a game that we play all the time. I show it to people all the time because it's so good. And that's my number 49, Vampire Queen.
Yeah, I tried this one once, but not with you, so I'd have to try it again with you, because I don't even know if we played it correctly. It was a couple years ago.
Do you own it now, or?
No, I think I borrowed yours.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nice.
All right, my number 48 is another party game, and this is called Time's Up Total Recall. Now, this is a game, if you're familiar with monikers, it's basically the same kind of thing. You have 2 teams, and you grab a stack of cards. I think it tells you a number, but we usually just decide how much time we have to grab however many. And the first team will start, and they will flip the timer, and they will just try to describe what is on the card. They can say a bunch of words about it. They can act. They can do all kinds of things. And then as soon as they do it, they'll flip it down and keep going until the timer's out. And then they will pass that deck to the other, or no, I think in this one, I'm getting this confused because there's 2 other games that are like this. The other team has their own deck. So then the other team will do the same thing. And then when one team finishes their whole deck, the first round ends, and you will count up how many you have completely, described.
Successfully complete.
Yeah, successfully described. And that would be your score for that round. Then you go into the second round. You shuffle up those cards. They're the same cards for each team. And now you're going into the round where you only use one word to describe whatever is on the card. A lot of times they're like movies, people, sentences, different things. But the one word you use is that's all you can say. You can't say another one word. It's only one word. So if they don't get it, you put it down, flip the other one, try to describe that one in one word. And you keep going again, back and forth. The other team will do theirs. And then you go until one team has completely successfully described all their cards, and then you will go into the third round. Now, the third round is acting only. So you are just acting out the things, and it's neat because you start to have some memory of, okay, we used this like one word, and then you would sometimes will just act out that one word. And so it's funny how everything kind of comes into effect, because you just get some weird like side jokes in this game about different things, how you described it or how you had talked about it even the first time. And the acting is hilarious. But again, you just go back and forth until one team is completely successfully described it, acted out the cards, and then you just add up the points, and whoever is the winner wins, or whoever has the most points obviously wins. But it's so fun. I've played this with family, with gamers, and you could play this with anybody. And even people who are not big on charades, because there's those people who are like, I'm not playing charades. You can sit in your chair and act it out if you want, but you only have to do it for, I think the timer is maybe 30 seconds, maybe 45. So it's not a lot, but the faster you can do it, obviously the better. And it's just so fun. I have this big box that comes with, I think it's like 200-300 cards. And then I bought like a expansion pack that was like board game words.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah.
I like playing that with just gamers because then it's like, I think it has board games on it, content creators and like all kinds of things, words that you kind of only use in board game language, but it's just so fun. And I love this party game. We'll always play this every Christmas. And
nice.
Time's Up Total Recall. But Monikers does the same. And I actually just got a game. It's called Rabble. And it's the same thing. The only thing is it adds in challenges. So while everybody's doing those things, you can choose a challenge and say, you have to do this. So one might be, you have to stare into somebody's eyes while you're describing the word to your team. But the eyes you're staring into is someone of the opposite team. And that sounds like it wouldn't be that hard, but staring at somebody else and trying to describe to your team is
that's funny.
Not easy, but it's all different kind of wacky things. Just adds that into the mix. But any of those are great. And yeah, that's my number 48.
Yeah, I played Monikers and actually played it on stage at AutoFest. They're like, "Oh, we need you." But I'm good. Like at the acting out or whatever. And then we played it here at Melcon and it was a hoot. Actually, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, what?
I'm good at the acting part too. Not so much the word part, obviously, but the acting.
But then by the time the acting part comes too, you've seen these same words 3 times. There's like a memory component to it as well, right? But yeah, it was cool. Very neat game. Okay, my number, I'm trying to see what it is. Oh yeah. 48. So my number 48 is Onitama. I've actually played this with Patrick. We went to Lee's mom and dad. And Patrick was playing on his phone next to me and he's playing chess. Like, so he has an app that he goes online and he plays chess with other people and he's doing pretty good. And the thing with chess though, is if you play somebody else who knows how to play chess, that's great. My mom, her grandson and one of her grandson really enjoys playing chess and he's an only child. So whenever he tries to get them to play chess with them and she doesn't know how to play. Neither does her husband. So they're like, trying to, and it's just, it kind of takes part of the fun away if somebody else can't keep up. And I was like, well, you need to try Onitama. So I played it with her as well, but I played it with Patrick also. And it has that same satisfaction as chess, but it's easier to grasp. And it's a 2-player game. One person plays as the blue, one person plays as the red. And you have all these cards that you shuffle, but each time you play, you'll only pull out 5 cards. So the game's going to change from game to game. But the 5 cards that comes out, now you'll put 2 on one player, 2 on the other player, and then the one in the middle. The one in the middle also has like little icons on them. And if it's a red icon or a blue icon, it indicates who is going to be the first player. So in this case, it's the blue icon, so blue goes first. And then you have your cards, and then the black dot shows that if you move one of your pawns or your player piece, the colored tiles is where it can move from where it started. So if I was doing that first one, I could go over to the right or to the left, or to the right up 1 or to the left up 1. And those are how I could utilize that movement, but I can use it for any of my game pieces. And once I do that, then I take that card and I swap it out with the one in the middle, and then the one in the middle becomes part of the 2 movements I have access to. So you gotta you can see what the other player has for movement. I can see what I have for movement. I can see what it could be swapped for as well. And the goal is to either capture the other person's master or to get your own master in the other person's temple. So there's 2 ways to win, and you're trying to do this. So we played 4 times. I think last time we pulled it out. Like I played it, me and Patrick, and then Patrick and Lily played it, and then me and Patrick played again. And like it is just so good. It is so good. At one time, and Patrick's like, "Oh no, you got me." Like there's nothing I can do. You got me. So, but it has a really strong chess component to it. It has that kind of quality. Now, this would have come up in one of my top 2-player games when we made that list. Did we do games better than chess?
I believe we have. Well, maybe. maybe.
Because that would have been in that list for sure, guaranteed. But I can't remember if we did that list or not, but maybe. And if so, Onitama, definitely such an amazing game. If you come across it, get it. It's so good. And that is my number 48.
Yeah, it has such a nice production to it, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like this mat that you roll out, and then these nice chunky... the pieces are made, like, are they like resin or something?
Something like that. Like, it's not plastic, but it's not like rubber. It's like somewhere in between. And then with the neoprene mat, like, I like the neoprene mat, but this neoprene mat fits in the box.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
Bonus points for that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right. Well, my number 47 is Kohaku. Now, this is a beautiful tile laying game. And I got really lucky with this. I had purchased this at Gobfest one year, and I think I got it for $20. And when I walked over to the guy, I was like, it's not the acrylic tiles though, right? And he's like, yeah, actually it is. I'm like, really?
Nice.
Sold. Because that copy, I think, went for quite a bit more, and then they didn't make it anymore. They only make the cardboard version.
And the one in the picture, if you're watching the video, is the cardboard version. I couldn't find a picture with the nice tiles.
Oh, really? So the tiles, the really cool thing about it is they're acrylic tiles, but how they are, like, I don't know even how they did it. How they
they painted them in layers.
In layers. So it looks like the fish are under in the bottom layer, and the water's kind of like on top. So it looks like they're 3D almost.
Yeah.
In the picture. I don't know if I'm describing that good, but it's so neat. And the colors and the art are so beautiful. But what you're doing this game is you are building a like koi pond, and you are trying to put different fish in different spots to score. But a fish can't go next to a fish ever. So a fish has to go next to either a stone or a statue or a frog. There's a turtle, I think. And then next to that will go a fish. So it'll always go like fish, something else, fish. And then nothing orthogonally will be the same. So it's really cool because some of the stones will say like, this one will score if you have white and yellow next to it. So you want to put all different white and yellow next to it. And then you might actually have a fish that is actually white and yellow. So you can put that there and you'll get extra points for that. Some of them will score. I think the dragonflies score next to the frogs, right? Because I
think that makes sense.
The dragonflies. And then there's something else that will score when there's the little baby kois. I can't remember what that is now. But you'll count however many babies you have next to that and you'll score. And there's all different ways of scoring, but how you're drafting is you're always taking one fish and one of something else, and you'll place that on your board, and then you'll replenish the board, which is a nice little neoprene mat, the action like selection board. And then you place all your tiles, and then at the end is when you score them all. So it's a lengthier game for a tile game, which I totally don't mind. You would think that it would be over in half hour, but these games typically will go like 45 just because there's so much that you're trying to figure out. And plus you do get to place a lot of tiles into your koi pond. So it just looks gorgeous after, and they're never the same. There's, you can go all different kinds of ways, but it's just so awesome and beautiful and very zen. And there's a really cool solo mode to play in this one. And that's my number 47, Kohaku.
Yeah, this one is such a cool game. And then the acrylic components look so amazing with that layered thing. So it looks like it's coming out of the water, and great pick. And then what's cool, because the game designer is also the artist for this game. Like, he did really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, so my number 47 is a game that half of the people in my family hate and the other half love, and I'm part of the half that loves it. Me and Patrick, actually, we really enjoy this one, and this is Dixit. Now, Dixit has such neat artwork, and it's like I've introduced it to some of the local players as well and their kids, and it was a hit. They enjoyed it. It was so cool. I don't know why. I think it's abstract thinking. Like, you gotta come up with a phrase that's fairly abstract, and you gotta, so abstract. So if you're too logical, I guess maybe it gets in the way. So Lee and Lily were not a fan at all of this one.
They're like,
but the way it's to be, yeah, I guess they're too black and white, right? There's no grays. But you would come up with a word, and whatever the description is, you'll look at your cards, and I think you have like 7 cards, and you'll be like, okay, I don't know, maybe we'll say journey, and then, or a phrase or whatever. So, and then you put a card face down without showing it to everybody. Now, everybody else is going to look into their hands, and they're going to pick whichever card best suits the word journey. Now, maybe you have the perfect card, or maybe nothing fits, so you just got to get rid of something. And then the active player, whoever gives the clue, is going to shuffle because they know what their card is, so they're going to shuffle, and they're going to put all the cards face up, and then everybody has to guess who they think, or which card they think was the original card that the person had picked for the word journey. So you would look and it was like, okay, well, like card number 1, obviously, but card number 2 fits too. And card number 4 as well. So I was like, okay, so you have like tokens for each number, and it'd be like, you paste one face down, and then if everybody kind of reveals. Now, if everybody finds the active player's cards, the active player gets 0. You were too obvious, and everybody who guessed correctly gets 2 points. Now, if no player finds the active player's cards, again, you were too vague now, or too abstract that nobody could guess. So then the active player would still get 0 points. Then all the other players would get 2 points. But then if somebody guessed your card, you get a bonus points for that as well. But then, so what you want, ideally, is to have some people guess your card, but not everybody. So then the active player gets 3 points, if that happens. And then the players that guessed correctly also get 3 points. But then everybody who's had their cards guessed gets a bonus point for that. So sometimes you can win the game and never guess right, but just people are guessing on you as well, right? So that has happened before, and it's just whoever gets 30 points first wins the game. But it's so neat. It is such an interesting game. I love it. Like I said, Patrick really enjoys it as well, but our very black and white people in our family really did not. But that's my number 47, Dixit.
Yeah, I love just looking at the cards in this game. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My number 46 is Gizmos. Now, this one is a engine building game. And you get to use these lovely marbles that you are drafting and trying to use to complete these different, I guess they're gadgets, gizmos, that you're trying to complete. And so they're cards. There's 3 levels of cards that you can choose from. Obviously, the lower cards are going to be less expensive than the higher ones. But the neat thing is when you do build the card, you're going to place it under your player board. And there's all different sections that it'll go under. So depending on the type of card it is, it may be a card that will fit under an upgrade. So at the beginning of the game, I think you can only hold, like, say, 6 marbles in your little round, what is that? A little ring that will hold the marbles so they don't roll all over the place. And you may be able to research 2. I can't remember exactly. And now researching is just pulling from the top deck and looking at a few cards and then choosing one. That is a really, really strategic move in this game. I've used it a lot. But anyway, so that would go, if you built that type of card, it would go under that area. And then say you were to build one that was something that would give you points when you built a certain color, that would go under the build section. There might be another one that will allow you to pick a marble when you have picked a different one or something. So that'll go under there. So what the neat thing is as you're building these cards, once you build one, you kind of look in that section and you're like, oh, okay, I get to trigger all these cards because I picked a yellow. So now that means I get to pick a red. But then when I pick a red, it allows me to pull one out of the box just randomly. And then when I do that, I get to take 2 points. So it kind of triggers and trickles down. It's really neat, and it's a fast game. You only build 16 cards, which includes your starting card. So really only 15 cards. It could be literally 15 turns, usually a little bit more, because sometimes you have to just grab dice on your turn and that is it. But it's just simple because you're either picking up a marble or you're building a card. Those are the two options that you have in your turn. And it's just so satisfying. I don't know what it is about this game. I played this quite early on as a gamer and I loved this game so much. I used to go to a friend's house to play a lot of games. They would always host game nights. So I purchased this game for them and they just were like, oh, okay, thanks. And I was like, but it's Gizmos I got you. Like, they weren't even thrilled about it. So then I was like, fine, I'll just buy my own copy. I was hoping we'd play it all the time now. But no, it's just an awesome game. And I love it. And that's my number 46, Gizmos.
It is cool. It is so satisfying when you have something that, okay, and this triggers this, and then this triggers this, and then this triggers this, which allows me to get this. And now I have all these marbles and I'll be able to build this next. And yeah, it's so cool. We like this one a lot too. This was a Christmas gift I got from my mom one year. She's like, do you have this one? I'm like, I do not. So perfect. So that was your number 46. The gift.
That's how you're supposed to react when you get Gizmos.
Exactly. All right. My number 46 is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. This is a deck building game. And now this is an easy deck building game to introduce and play. And it's a satisfying, fun one. I like this game. And what's cool about it too is you would start with game one, which kind of starts, you have like the different spells that you can learn or the different allies you can get that would get added to your deck, but you have your starting deck. And you would play either as Harry Potter or Hermione or Ron or Longbottom. He has a first name. I forget now. But those are the different characters that you can play as, and you have your health that you track, and then you have these bad guys that comes up along the bottom. And then when you create damage, you add like little, like lightning bolts on the bottom of them to show that they've taken some damage. And then if you get enough to cover all their health and they've been destroyed, the card goes away, a new one comes on. And if you get hit or different things happen, you have these little metal tokens that you add to the location. And eventually, if it gets too many of those icon on the location because you're taking too much hit, or kind of the bad cards have like a different event that can happen, those can happen as well. Now you've lost control of that location, and there's like 3 locations per round. So if you ever lose control of the last location, you lose the game. And then if you ever take full damage, you get stunned, and you kind of have to get rid of your cards. You reset, and it's not good because you add one of those tokens to the location as well. So it builds towards potentially losing the game. But then afterwards, once you kind of complete and defeat all the bad guys from the game 1, you open game 2 box, and then you add that. And it's like the 7 years of the schooling years at Hogwarts. Now, I've seen this game, exact same game with the Toy Story skin on it, which I haven't played. I've seen it, but it looks cool. So you would kind of pick whatever theme appeals to you the most. But I think this is a really great cooperative deck building game. It's a great way to introduce that genre. And then if you've played this a few times and you're like not going to play game 1, you could just start with all the first 3 box right away and always play like at least that level and work your way up. So it's not like too easy, and there's a lot of expansions with this one. I have one of the expansions, but I haven't played it yet because every time I play, we play with new players. So we restart with game 1 and then play. So I need to play with people that I've played with again so we can try the new stuff. But I really, really like this one.
Yeah, it's a really neat deck building game.
And that's my number 46, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. Yeah, you did. Yeah. What did you think of it?
I like it. Yeah. I played it solo.
Good.
I think I'd rather play it with people. Deck building isn't that fun solo, I found. It's not like...
Okay, yeah, I could see that for sure. I've never tried it solo. So
yeah, no. Don't recommend this one solo, but it's doable. You can do it. All right, my number 45 is Search for Planet X. Now, this is a deduction game, which I had kind of passed up on only because I'd heard this was a good game, but there was another one coming out called The Search for Lost Species, which the theme appealed to me more. So I ended up getting that one for Christmas, The Search for Lost Species, and I really liked it. And then I was like, I kind of want to try this one now. So then I purchased this game, and I liked this one more. And
oh my God.
I like this one more is because it's a little bit more, I'm not even going to say streamlined, but it's just more, it's smooth. It flows. And the other one is a little bit clunky because you have to move. Whereas this one, you move on a map, not just on the board. Whereas this one, you have this big planet in front of you and you start with your workers like going around the planet. And as you move, you take different actions, but you can only take them in a certain sector of the galaxy or whatever it is. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to locate Planet X. And how you do that is by deduction. And what you do is you will ask different questions. This is an app-based game that requires an app. You can't play it without, which to me is usually a big turn off. I don't love that you have to play a game with an app, but this one really works and it's really cool. So everyone can use their own phone or device if they want, or you can share a device, either way. But on your turn, you will choose what action you're going to do, and then you'll grab the device, you'll put in who you are, like it'll show what direction you are facing to the player board or the game board. And you will say, okay, I'm going to do this action. And there's different things you can do. You can do like some kind of research where you're just getting some basic information on things. And there's different types of things that you can get. And everybody can get that. But you just have to say, okay, I'm doing this turn, and you'll get that information. You don't share that information at all. And then however many points that took, because depending on your action, it'll kind of take up different points. You have to move ahead that much. And so if you still end up behind everybody, you get to go again. So then you might do something like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do some research on a comet. And so I might say, I'm going to go from sector 2 to 8 and like search up comets and see what it's going to tell me. And it might say there are 2 comets in that area. So from 2 to 8 or whatever. So you're like, oh, okay, well that helps me because I know there's only 2. That might not be true, but I'm just saying, for instance, and I already know that there's one over here. So there's definitely one here now. And I know there's none in these 2 areas because I know what's there. And so you can kind of deduce that way. Once somebody has figured it out or think they have figured it out, they will plug in that they are going to take the guess, and they will have to plug in different information. Like they have to know what's on either side of that sector where you think Planet X is. And then if you're correct, you will end the game. You don't necessarily win, because everybody else, depending how far behind you they are, they will get to possibly take a guess themselves. And then you're going to add up points. Now there's different ways of getting points in here, because as you move along the track and different things, like as the sector moves, it'll give you these spots where everybody can take a guess. That's probably not the word they use, but where you can place down a token where you're like, okay, I actually think that this comet is here, and you'll place it face down so nobody knows what you're placing. And then every round it'll slide down. And so once it gets to this, like the middle part, then you have to reveal them all and decide, and figure out if these are correct or not. So you actually, if I have put a comment there, I'll flip it over and we'll check, is there a comment there? Yes. So I will mark down I get so many points. And if somebody was on the same spot as me with the comment, they will get it. If they were behind me, they will get less points. So you can get points from just making correct guesses as well. And there's two sides to this game. You can play like a shorter game where I think there's like 12 sectors, and then I think on the other side there's 18. So you can make it more complicated and a little bit more longer, but it's just awesome. And for a space game, which I usually am never drawn to, this one is awesome. It is so fun. There's a third one out now, and it's called The Search for UPS. I can't remember what it all stands for.
Cool.
But I haven't really looked into yet because I just love this one so much. I'm just hoping a friend maybe gets that one and then we can try that one because I probably don't need all three of them. But it's an awesome deduction game. Have you played this yet?
I've played the animal based one with you once.
Right, you at my house.
So I haven't played this one. Yeah.
This one is smoother and
nice.
Less chance for screwing up. I think when we played that game, something
there was a couple of mistakes that happened, I think. Yeah. Not to me. I was doing good.
Yeah, no, I can't remember, but I just remember something. That was like one of the first times we played it. And but no, this one's really good. So number 45, The Search for Planet X.
Very nice. My number 45 is a Friedman Freeze game, and that is Power Grid Factory Manager. So I have a few Power Grid games. I have the card game, which actually was really good. And I have Power Grid, and then I have Factory Manager. And I think I might like Factory Manager the best of all. And instead of being quite like Power Grid, the thing I found with Power Grid was you really got in each other's way in the map. And I would play sometimes where I had like an obvious lead and everybody else for the rest of the game are playing to know they're losing the game. Like there was not a great way to catch up. With this one here, you're not in each other's way so much because everybody has their own player board and you're building your own factory. And it's just on the main board is what the different machinery you're going to bring in. And, so it's like, oh, maybe I'll get that one. So, oh, you got it. So I'll have to pick something else. What's interesting too is like there's also robots that you can bring in that will activate the different machinery, because you got to keep that in mind is how much manpower do you need to run the things in your factory? How much electricity do you need to make sure that everything is running smoothly as well, and you have enough electricity to be able to power up everything you have in your factory? And then you have your workers. Now, the workers in the first phase of the game are also part of your bid. So as you bid for the different things that are available, you're going to bid your workers to go towards purchasing what you want, as well as money, right? So, but you use your workers to kind of get first pick or whatever. So it has a similar kind of auction style kind of to Power Grid. But what's interesting with this is if you use too many workers to bid, they're not going to be available to activate your machinery. So you got to make sure that you keep enough so that you can activate what you got in your machinery so that you can, kind of generate what you need. But, spend enough so that you get what you want to add. I just thought this was such an interesting game. I mean, the gameplay is completely different from Power Grid. The artwork, kind of part of the theme a little bit with like how concerned you have to be with the energy that you bring in to what you consume, definitely has a big play as well. But it's, it's more engine building, like it's more that aspect, and you don't get in each other's way as well. It's not as area control as Power Grid was. And I quite like this one. And that was my number 45, Power Grid Factory Manager.
Oh, no, I haven't played this one. That looks interesting.
You'll have to. I know someone who owns it.
Yeah, you'll have to try this one for sure. Mm-hmm. All right. My number 44 is Nova Luna. And then I think I put slash Sagani because they're very, very close to the same game with like one small difference. This is games by Uwe Rosenberg, and they are just basic, simple tile laying games where you are drafting a tile, and how you do that is you're going around this little moon track board, and you just move your little moon, or everybody uses the same moon, but you can choose up to 3 tiles in front of it, and then you'll place the moon there, and you'll take it and you'll just place it into your tableau. And wherever you place it, what you're trying to do is get the light colors that it is wanting around it, orthogonal. And so I might have a tile that shows 2 teal in a little circle, and then it shows 2 red in a little circle, and then 2 yellow in a little circle. So I want to have, 2 yellows extending off that somewhere. I want 2 teal extending off somewhere, and so on. And so what you're trying to do is place all these tiles that you can complete those little circles. So once I've got, say, 2 teal tiles connected to that tile, I get to place one of my little discs on there, and then that part of it is completed. Now, there's numbers on the tiles as well, and what those mean is that's how much time is taken up, kind of thing. So if I chose a really like tough tile that might be worth 7 or 9 points, I will have to move on the track, because as you're moving that moon around, you also have player pieces that move around in the middle, and they will move around with your time. So if I took an expensive tile, basically, I would spend 9 time. Now, the reason you might not want to take those is because it's always the player who is behind that is going to go next again. So if you take that big one and they take a bunch of little ones, they could have like 3-4 turns before you get another turn. Now, a lot of times you don't even care, because you just want to take the perfect tile that's going to fit into your tableau. But once you place all your little discs, that's how the game ends. There's no scoring. There's nothing. It's just a race, putting your discs out and finishing the game. To me, that is one really nice thing about a tile laying game, is that you don't have to score after, you don't have to like add anything up, you don't have to like look at and see what's going on. You just finish the game and that's it. Now, Sagani is very, very similar, only it adds diagonals into the mix. So it's not just orthogonal things, it's things that are diagonal. So it just makes you kind of visually have to look, and it's kind of interesting because even though they're like squarish tiles, the diagonal part is a little bit tricky, because when you're trying to imagine where this one, it wants a green diagonal, but there's nothing off it right now, and you can't just place a tile diagonal. You have to place one underneath and then next to it. So trying to imagine where that line is going to go can sometimes be tricky, but same kind of thing. You're drafting and moving up points. You are just racing in these games, and that's one thing I like sometimes. I don't play a whole lot of race games. They get me too excited. Like that, it reminds me of sports, which I did love. Played every kind of sport possible almost, and it just got my adrenaline pumping. But these games do that, because when I get close to the end and I think I'm like, I'm going to do it. Then sometimes the person next to me, boom, they just finished it. I'm like, no, I needed one more to get that disc out. But it's just still so fun and satisfying. And they have some really good solo modes to play too, which is neat. And yeah, that's my number 44, Nova Luna.
Yeah, Nova Luna is amazing. It looks so good on the table. The first time I played was with you. I didn't understand it was clusters you were trying to build. I thought it had to be all 4 sides are touching what's showing, but you could count the clusters. So I was way, way behind. And then all of a sudden, I look up, and then Carla's like, okay, I win. It's like, I got over half my tokens still. But yeah, it was neat. I got better too. So
that's good.
Wonderful. My number 44 is Endeavor Age of Sail. I've played this one like this summer. And like I've played this one a couple of times. The first time I played it was at FallCon, and I've played it at Car Treat, and I've played it here at my house this summer. And every time I play it, I was like, oh my God, this is such a cool game. Now, this game definitely has a strong area control element to it because you're kind of taking control of some areas on the board. Now, you can't go in some areas of the map until you've kind of built up onto it and opened it up. But what's really interesting is on your board, each round you kind of add a tile that adds something you can do. And then you have like these trackers of how much of the different actions you kind of have access to or can do, or the level of the cards that you can add. So the top one, as you go up, you can get higher value or higher level cards that gives you kind of better actions. The second one is how many workers you get that round that you get to build into your worker pool. The other one is is paying the workers. So that you can bring them back or whatever. You got to pay their wage for what they've done. And then the bottom one kind of dictates how many cards you're able to hold. But it's so neat. Like, first of all, the way that this game is organized, and the trays and the inlaid boards. And this is one of the first game that I had come across that had like the inlaid boards as well. It is so cool, and it was so satisfying, and it shows really clearly on the side of the map how this all works. Now, currently on my table here right now, I have Endeavor Deep Sea set up. This one just kickstarted. It's kind of released not too long ago, and it brings a different element to that game. So it's still kind of like sea theme, but it's more modern, and it's about diving and conservation and different things of it. But the way that the worker player board works, and then leveling up those different tracks so that you can accomplish more, and getting and this one is like a new specialist that you can bring in each round, is very similar. But it's a good game. I really, really enjoyed Endeavor Age of Sail, and so far I'm really enjoying Endeavor Deep Sea as well. And that was my number 44.
Yeah, I actually found them quite different. I thought they'd be more similar in the play. Like the
the game
is similar and stuff, but the actual playing of the pieces I found quite different in it.
Like the mechanism in the gameplay is similar, but the gameplay feel itself is very different.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, my number 43 is Suburbia Deluxe. Now, I know you ended up getting rid of this game. You liked the other one, Subdivision, better, but
Subdivision just kind of appealed to us better. Yeah.
But this one is awesome. I love this game. I actually was playing it with John last week. I played it solo a bit, which I didn't even know it was on this coming up list, which is kind of ironic. But
yeah, because it's funny. I was like, "Hey, what have you played lately?" She's like, "Ooh, Suburbia," and I was like, "No, you can't pick that one. That's on your list."
I'm like, really? Oh, okay, awesome. Well, it's fresh in my mind because we just played it, but I just love this game. And this was another one that I had played early on and bought like the base game. And then I think I bought one expansion, and then this came out on Kickstarter. I'm like, and John loved this game. So I'm like, oh, no brainer. I have to get this. Nice. So this is the same kind of box as Mad King Ludwig. Same, so what is that? Bezier Games. They make the same thing with the game trays, and that all play into the game where you literally use the trays as part of the game, which is so neat. And what you're doing in this game is you're building a city, and what you're doing is drafting these hexagonal tiles that will be placed in your city, and depending where they go and how much they cost and how they trigger, a bunch of things are going to happen. So you will, if you're watching, you can see there's like this big white piece with a little tower that will pull all the tiles out, and they will be slid around this board. Now the board has prices on them. So those are the costs of the tiles plus whatever is on the tile. And so you can choose any of them. You can grab one of them if you can afford it, and then you will place it into your tableau. and you have to choose where you're putting it. It has to go next to another one. And then you will trigger things. So you always trigger the top right of the tile, which is usually going to give you some income or some reputation. Then you look at the bottom of the tile, and that might give you just some money, or it might give you some population. It might give you different things. It might say, well, depending on however many other housing tiles you have, you'll get this. And so then you're going to look at the tiles around it and see if it triggers any of those. And those might give you income and population. And then once you've done all that, then you are going to, at the end of your turn, take what your income is at and what your population is at. And population is basically points. So you'll take your money and you'll move your population up. And if you ever pass, the scoreboard is really neat because it has all these little red roofs. If you ever pass a red roof, that means you are increasing your city so much that your income and population will go down. So you have to move those down one. So it's not like you can just like fly up the point track, because then you're going to have no income and no population. So you have to be careful and kind of develop some income at the beginning, and then you slowly switch to just kind of gaining population closer to the end of the game. But there's so much more that happens, because there's some tiles that will say, I get $2 for every school that is in the game. So that is like played. So you might have 2 schools. John might have a school, and then another person might have 3. So as soon as I place that tile, I'm going to get whatever it gives me for those.
Nice.
And for future ones. So what the deluxe thing has is all these little different pieces. Like it might have like a little school pencil that you'll place on that tile, so that you don't have to just remember everything. You can look at your board and go, oh, okay, I have a pencil. Wait, somebody just bought one. Now I remember to take my money or whatever it is I get. And it's just so clever how it all works. Sometimes you run out of money and you're like, I don't have a high income. What am I going to do? You grab a tile and you flip it over and turn it to a lake. And then you place it next to something, and whatever is surrounding it is going to give you $2. So it's just kind of a quick way to get income. But it's a very simple, basic concept, but you can complicate it as much as you want by, building different tiles that will trigger off people's tiles that they have in their city. And it's just so lovely. There's so many tiles that come with this game that you can change it up, and you can use different expansions in there that will also change the game. You have this, like, I think it's a nightlife one where it has like different casinos and taverns and things that will trigger differently. But it's just so satisfying. It's another one that is not a long game. It's probably max an hour. I've only played it with 3 max, I think. Mm-hmm. But with 2-3 people, it's a really, really quick game. And it's almost one of those where you're like, let's just play it again. Let's set it up and try it again. But it's awesome. That's my number 43, Suburbia Deluxe.
Yeah, we played Subdivision, and I just enjoy that one a little bit more. Plus, when I played Suburbia the first time, we forgot about being able to flip the tile over to the lakeside, and money was so tight and we couldn't do anything. So that probably kind of put a bad taste in my mouth a little bit. Kind of like, this game is impossible. Like, what the heck? But yeah, not good pick. Alrighty, my number 43 is Furnace. Now, Furnace is super interesting. Like, the bidding mechanism that's part of it for which tile you're going to acquire and which tile you're going to activate for the resources. And then it builds this whole big engine building. Plus, it's simultaneous place. Everybody's doing their thing at the same time on the second half of the phase, or the second phase of each turn, that it kind of keeps this game nice and speedy. There's almost no downtime. And I think that's just so amazing. So every player is going to be one different color token, and you're going to have a token from 1 to 4. And you're going to take turn bidding on the cards of what you would like. Now, and you can't play your token on a card that you've already placed one of your token on. And you can't play a token of the same number that's already showing on that card. So if I'm a 3 I want to play my 3. I couldn't play the 3 on the one that already has a 3. And I also can't place if I've already placed a token on the other card. So I have to pick a different one. Then you do that until everybody's got all of their tokens placed. And then you're going to look at each card, and whoever has the highest number is going to get that card to add to their engine. But everybody else who has a tile on there is going to activate what shows up on the top. And normally it's resource you can collect or trades that you can do. So maybe there's 2 iron at the top, and if I played a 1 there, obviously I didn't win the top number for the people that had played there, but then I would get to take 2 iron and add those to my resources. Now, if I had played a 2, I take 2 iron times 2, so I would actually take 4 iron to add to my resources. And if I played a 3, then, that would be, but if I played a 4, then I won the card. I don't get to activate those resources at all. And possible that I played the 3 hoping to get 6 iron, but nobody played the 4, so I win the tile, so I don't get to activate the resource portion. I just get the cards. Like, man, I was really trying to get iron. Like, that can happen, and it happens a lot as well. And then with these resources, you can activate your card to trade different things, and it's like all about trading. So I can spend 2 iron here to turn that into a barrel, and then I can spend the barrel over here to get, and it's like money or gold or whatever, or coins, and you get those. Now the coins are not traded for anything. They're not ever going to be able to do anything, but it's the victory points. And at the end of the game is whoever has the most coins is the winner. So you are trying to get coins, and you're trying to create your thing. So, I'm going to activate this one so that it gives me 2 iron. Then I'm going to go over here to trade those iron for oil. Then I'm coming here to trade those oils for 4 coins each. And I'm going to do that. And then I do this one, which actually allows me to upgrade one of the building, and I'm going to upgrade this building. So now it's actually going to give me more coins down the road, and everybody does this simultaneously, so there's no downtime. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I'm good. I've done what I could do. I still have some resources, or I'm out of all resources, but I've got some coins now. And then you get new tiles that get added, and then you do it again, and the game plays in 4 rounds. But it's so neat and satisfying, and I really like this game, and that's my number 43, Furnace.
And it's another like quick game, but still feels crunchy. I just love it, because sometimes you just don't have the time to play the big heavy Euros, but this still gives you that feel, but within half hour, 45 minutes. And
for sure.
This was a good one. Yeah. All right. My number 42 is Alhambra, another old classic that I had played a long time ago and had continued to play it. I just love this tile laying game. I don't know what it is about trying to connect these tiles and trying to get your Alhambra to all work together. But what you're doing in this game is you're building Alhambra. And how you do that is you draft these tiles. Well, you don't draft them, you buy them. And you buy them with specific colors. So certain tiles will be placed on specific colors of areas, I guess. And you need that color of money to buy those tiles. So on your turn, you can either draft money or you can buy tiles. And if you draft money, you can draft up to $5. So if I chose like a 1 and a 4, I can take that money, or I can just take 1 card, even if it's a 7 or an 8. But I meant if I'm taking 2 cards, I can draft up to 5. But, and so you're still wanting those little tiny monies as well. That sounds funny. The small amount of money you want, because if you pay something with exact change, then you get another turn. So if you can, trigger that by just paying constantly, I'm paid that one exact, I get another turn, buy another tile, get another turn. You would have to have a lot of money in your hand to do that. And I'm usually not patient enough to build up my money. I just want to buy stuff if it's like the perfect one for my Alhambra. And what I mean by perfect is you're placing it around this starting kind of entrance. And so each tile will have a certain color inside it of the building it is, and then it'll have some walls, and it might just have a wall on the top, might have a wall on the bottom, or it might have one on the side and the top. It might have one on the side, both sides and the top. And how you're trying to fit these into your Alhambra is you have to connect the wall so that you can move through your Alhambra without running into walls. Now that sounds easy, but when you're purchasing these tiles, sometimes they're not working out, and I'm always trying to have the perfect wall connection that it goes all the way around, because there's I think 3 different scoring times in the game, and it'll be when a card comes out of the deck of the money that you will score certain buildings, and there'll be certain colors that you will score. But you're also going to score for your longest connected walls. Now, for some reason, I'm always aiming for that longest connected wall, because it's just so satisfying to have this one wall going all the way around. But other than that, that's the base of the game. I have the big box that I bought years and years ago, and it has feels like 20 expansions in there. I do use quite a few of them. My favorite one is the coins. And what that is you get to pull out a coin. I think it's every time I don't know if it's if you build a building, I can't even remember now, but you get to pull out a coin from the bag, and they're ones. And so they just help you fill in that, specific cost of something to make it exact and give you more turns. There's a whole bunch of different things that adds to it, but that one is one of my favorites. But it's just at the base game, at its core, it's just such a lovely, just little simple tile laying game. You can, skip the whole wall thing and go for the points on the buildings, because each round the buildings are different, which score higher, and you can just kind of, work towards that. But there's just, I don't know what it is about tile laying games and connecting buildings and walls and things. It's just, to me, it's just so satisfying. That's our number 42, Alhambra.
Yeah, this is such a good game. I like too that there's 3 scoring. 2 of them is going to come up at some point. You don't know when. So you're trying to get yourself kind of always set up, ready to score. So good. Nice. All right. My number 42 is one that the more I play, the more it grows on me. The first time I was like, okay, yeah, no, it's neat. And I played it again. I was like, okay, yeah, this is good. And I played it again. I was like, this is really good. And this one here is Tiny Towns. Now, I've said this again with Evolution. Evolution has had the same thing. But Tiny Town is one that every time I play it, I like it more and more. And with this one here, I can't remember which list it would have been made in our top 9 list that we did. But what's really interesting with this one is, first of all, you have these different buildings, and every time you play the game, you pull a card for that building. So every time you play, it could be a little bit different with a little slightly different rules. And the card's going to give you a pattern of resources that you need in a certain order. Now, it can be mirrored, it can be flipped around, but as long as you have, let's say for the theater here, a blue token with 2 brown ones on the side and a gray one on the other side, then you can trade those in to put the yellow building that's going to be the theater. And each building are going to score differently depending on what's going on that game, which card came out. And what's really neat is you take turn being the builder, I guess. You have a little white hammer that you pass around, and if I'm the builder, then I'd be like, okay, so I need glass, and I take a blue cube. Then everybody has to take a blue cube and add it to the board. And it could have been very much that the next person's like, I did not need glass at all, and it's totally messing what I'm trying to do here, because you want to leave yourself with the open spaces so you can do the patterns you're trying to do. And once you get the pattern you want, you can put the building in one of those spots, but now that building is using up and eating away some of your space. So you're going to get to a certain point where it's like, okay, I can't accomplish anything because everything is cluttered up. So as the game plays, it clutters. But then as every player picks, okay, everybody takes a yellow cube. It's like, darn you with your yellow cube. Where am I going to put this now? And it's so, it's aggravating for sure when you're playing it. But I find that so interesting as you're playing, trying to do, okay, hold on, wait. That's okay. I could always do a well over here then. I'll put it there. Or, it's like, oh, that's perfect. That's exactly what I needed. So that's good. I'll put it here. But it's neat. It is such an interesting game. And it's puzzly. So it's a bit of brain burning, trying to kind of, okay, where should I put that? Where is it not going to be in the way? I really like this one. So that is my number 42, Tiny Towns.
Good choice. This one also grew on me. The first time I played it, this is a funny little story. I played it at a convention in Edmonton, the same convention I met Rodney Smith.
Oh, nice, yeah.
But anyway, I got taught this game, and there was a bunch of us playing, because I think it plays more than 4 people.
It plays 6.
6, yeah. So there's 6 of us. We were playing with this 7-year-old boy, and so, totally fine. He knew what was going on, and we were playing, and I think all of us had played for the first time, what I thought. And so we kind of went on, and it's quite difficult with 6 because when they choose a resource and you're like, I don't need that, and I'm not going to get what I want for 5 more turns. So what am I going to do here? But anyway, end game came and we added up our points. That 7-year-old kicked our butts. And we were like, did we just get hustled by a 7-year-old here? Does he go around to conventions and bring tiny towns and pretend he doesn't know how to play this game? But he was like unreal, this kid. It was funny. But yeah, this one, so that turned me off of that game. And then I don't know what brought me back to it, but I decided I'm like, I need to play this game again. Probably haunted me that the 7-year-old beat us all so bad that I'm like, I got to figure this game out. And so I bought it and played it. And every time I play it, I like it more. It's so hard. I find this game very hard. And
for sure.
And you can also play with the variant where you just draft cards that will decide what.
So you don't get to pick at all. Oh,
you don't get to pick. So that can swing both ways as well.
Right.
That's how you play the solo version.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you get to choose in the solo version on your turn, but anyway, it's a really neat little game. Yeah, and a quick play too.
Yeah. 45 minutes it says on here, so yeah, that's pretty quick.
Yeah. All right, so my last one up today, number 41, is another tile laying game. What did I have? I've had a few. I've had quite a few tile laying games on this list here, but that is Isle of Cats. Now, this one I had passed up on Kickstarter. I'd kind of looked at it, and I remember Rado just raving about it, and I'm like, I don't know if that's really for me. And so I didn't play it. And then when I was on the Dice Tower cruise, this guy had taught this, and he's like, you guys, we got to play this. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm up for that. And he's like, no, like, people have overlooked this. I'm going to show you because gamers love this game once they play it. And so he taught us, and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I love it. And it's just so satisfying, even though you never fill your board. I don't know if anyone's ever filled their board out there. Let me know, because I don't know that it's even possible. But you're just drafting these cats and placing them on your board. This is another game that has a family version and then kind of a gamer version. We played the gamer version of it, but in order to draft those, you need to have spend fish. And before the whole part of the drafting, you are drafting cards. So there's a whole other aspect to the game is drafting cards. And it's one of those, you get a hand of cards, you pick 1 or 2, and then you pass the cards, and then you pass and pick. And then once you have your hand of cards, then you have to pay for them, and you have to pay fish, and you do start out with like 20 or 25 fish, I believe, and then you will decide which cards you want to keep, and then the rest will go into the discard. Don't get to use them, and then you'll play certain cards before the drafting of the tiles begins, and a lot of them will be of baskets. And so you need a basket for every cat you're drafting. You start with 1 permanent basket, and some cards will have baskets on them. Some will have half a basket. And so you need to have 2 halves to complete this basket. Others will have boots on them, and those are kind of the speed at which you do things. And so if you're quicker, you will get to go earlier in turn order. There's also like action cards that will let you just, take more fish or draft these like, I can't think of the name now. These special cats that are these wacky polyomino tiles that fill up more space, but they're quite complicated to place. And they can be Oshak. That's what they are, Oshak cats. And you can choose which color they are. And so what the colors have in effect is that on your boat, everybody has different boats. And so I have, like, on my boat, say I have red wants to be up in this area, blue wants to be at the bottom, green wants to be on the left side, yellow wants to be on the right, and then more in the middle, maybe like purple. I don't know if I already mentioned that color, but all different colors. And so you don't have to put those colors there. But if you do happen to get one of those colors on this one spot in each of those areas, you get to take another little bonus tile. And you also want to connect light colors because you want to have families of cats. The bigger the family of the cat, the more you'll score points. So trying to get, I'm the type that wants to still have every color cat because I want to get those bonuses, but then I give up, getting the big families. Now, on top of that, there's also these scoring cards that come into play with all the drafting they're in the play. And so I might have a card that will let me score for having at least 6 red cats. So if I play that down, there's a public and private goals. This is private. Well, I really need to work on that because it's going to give me 15 points at the end of the game. I might have another one that'll give me points for all these treasures. And treasures are the bonus tiles that you get to place on your board. So I might want to get a bunch of cards that will give me a bunch of treasures. The only thing is the treasures won't connect the colors. They just kind of fill in the spots. Now, the other thing you're trying to worry about is you have these rats on your boat and you're trying to cover them up because they all give you negative points. And you're trying to complete rooms. Now, the rooms are all kind of wacky because they're not just like easily shaped. They are kind of wonky shaped because you are trying to complete a whole room because each room that you have at least one uncovered tile, you get negative points. So trying to complete as many rooms as possible while still trying to get the families of the light colors together is quite tricky. I find this to be a really thinky tile game, and there's a lot more depth to it than I had originally thought. And they've actually come up with a roll and write game, which he made during COVID, which was just awesome. And then he printed it as an actual board game you can buy. And it's really good too. But my number 41 is the tile game, and that's Isle of Cats. Just love it.
Nice. Yeah, I've only played it the one time, and it took a really long time, and it was so chaotic on the table that I was just like, yeah. But it is interesting, the different things. Sorry?
Did you play with some people with some bad AP?
You know what? It was all women, and I think we were all just too chatty. So I think maybe that was the issue with this one. But it is interesting what all you gotta kind of consider as, okay, well, let's do the clusters of families here. Okay, well, yeah, let's cover the rat here. Oh, yeah, and then now let's complete that room here. So there is a lot to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, I've only played it the one time, and I would need to try it again to kind of, because it was kind of like, eh. But yeah. All right, my number 41 is Mystic Vale. So Mystic Vale, now I like deck building games, and this one is a deck crafting game or a card crafting game, and that's so interesting. Now keep in mind, every single card in this game has a plastic peel on it that you're gonna have to peel it off, and it says right in the rule book, like, do not unpeel the cards all at once. Just play the game and unpeel as you go until you peel them all off. Because it takes, like, the first time we unpeeled it all up. And then at the end, we're like, okay, we're tired. Pack it up. Go to bed. Like, it took a long time just unpeeling these cards. But now I have the Essential Edition that I'm showing up on here. The basic game, basically Essential Edition, like, has 2 or 3 expansion that's built in as well. It has a neoprene board for kind of putting the cards on. Although it didn't have a spot for the pile of cards that needs to go as well. So I thought that was a little bit strange that if you're going to make a neoprene tile, mat, like why not add space for that as well? But then maybe the neoprene, because you have like, well, you have like your deck and then you flip 3 out of there, right? Well, the mat has the room for the 3 cards, but not for the deck. So I don't know why you wouldn't have fit that on there. Yeah. But that's strange. Yeah, it was just, so it was like the neoprene mat? I think it does though, so that could be why. And I honestly, you know what? I'll put cards on the table if the mat fits in the box. Gladly. But this is also a push your luck game. And I think this game definitely made my list when we did our top 9 push your luck game. Because with this one, you have your, like, I think it's 28 cards that you have, and you'll never have more than that. But as you go, you add these see-through cards to your card. They're all sleeved. So that eventually you could have, like, 3 portion to your card, the bottom, the middle, the top. And then there's like the side icons as well that can do certain things. And then there's like the card itself has like different things that can be activated. But before you do that, you draw your deck. You draw your hand. So you would, let's say I draw one, as okay, and I draw a second one. Okay, it's good. I draw another one. Oh no, there's a decay symbol on it. So you have like a little red symbol on it, and then I could draw another one. Oh no, I got another decay symbol. And if you ever reveal 4, you bust, all your hands goes in the discard pile, you flip your 1 token over so you get an extra purchase power next round, but that's it. Like, you don't actually get to do anything, which is so frustrating. So I'm like, oh, do I take that in my hand? Because then I would have 3 decay. If I flip another decay, I bust and I don't get to do anything. But maybe, no, you know what? I'm just not going to push it, and you stop now. But then you also have to check how many kind of blue orbs you have, because that will determine your purchasing power so that you can buy another segment of cards to add to your card. And then when you buy those tiles, it has to be added to the card that you have in your hand as well. And it's like, well, I do have like this blank card right now that I'd like to put something in. That would be good. I could do that. But I have enough money to buy this card. And this one would work so well if I put it with the other one, because they can kind of work with each other where it makes the card like really powerful. Or like it could have like a decay kind of neutralizer. It's a green symbol that cancels out decay. So it makes sense to add that to a card that has a decay. So then it always kind of clears out the decay for that particular card. So you have that going on. Now, there's also a symbol on the side other than the decay and the green symbols. You also have like element symbols as well. And you can use those to purchase these other cards. Now, these cards aren't see-through at all. They just kind of get added on as like, I don't know, like they give you either an extra symbol that you have, or it gives you an extra ability that you can have. They also give you kind of end of game points as well. And every time you play the game, there's like a certain number of points. And once those points have been collected, it initiates the end of the game. But you can get more, score more than it's there. That's just what triggers the end of the game. And then whoever has the most points at the end of the game, based on points that you might have in your cards or those extra cards that you've acquired as well. This is just such a neat game. I really like it. And that's my number 41, Mystic Vale Essential Edition. But Mystic Vale Basic Edition was equally good as well.
Yeah, this is an awesome game. I actually just played this last night, me and Cherry.
Oh, fun!
I push my luck all the time, and I busted probably 90% of the time, so I didn't get a lot going. I think it took me 15 rounds, maybe 10 rounds to get a card with a symbol on it to even buy a Vale card.
Right.
It was not my night for Mystic Vale, but still had fun because I love the push your luck. Oh, am I gonna get it? I've got a whole bunch of mana on these cards, and if I flip one more, it's going to give me 8 mana. I'm going to get one of those big cards. Happened once. I got 1 level 3 card in the whole game. I just didn't work for me last night, but yeah, it's such a good game. And
that's funny.
I was curious about the Essential Edition because I remember you saying you bought it.
Yeah.
I have the base game with 1 expansion. And I was thinking, well, I wonder if I should upgrade to this, but I didn't even know it came with a player mat. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Oops.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that is our 50 to 41.
Right? Finally broke halfway.
We're over halfway. Next week, we'll do our 40 to 31. Then we're going to take a little slight break for the following one and going to talk about some Christmas games.
We got to.
We play around Christmas, if they're Christmassy, or just what we kind of always choose to want to play around that time. But until next time, where can people find you?
So first of all, we do have a Discord for the Board Game Specialist. Go look that up. Now, you've been good for taking pictures and sharing them lately, because for the longest time, she's like, oh, I forgot to take pictures. But she's gotten over that now. So there's lots going on that Discord channel. Actually, it's been kind of neat having those conversations.
Lots of people are sharing their games played and.
Yeah, was it the one guy last weekend was at a convention, so he's sharing like tons of games. Like, oh, I wish I was there. Yeah, but it's been cool to see all the games being played and shared there for sure. On Instagram, my Instagram page is Mal's_boardgame_room. On Facebook, my Facebook page is Mal's Board Game Room. As well on YouTube, my YouTube channel is Mal's Board Game Room. So how about you, Carla? Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at boardgamespecialist, all one word, and I have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. Well, until next time, thank you all for listening. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.